You are now listening to On Air with Lewis Hunter.
Hi there, welcome back to On Air with Lewis Hunter, where we go into the lives of celebs, professionals, and behind the scenes workers of your favourite TV and film. Join me as we go into their lives to find out what it's like to be with one of them. Today I'm joined with Ethan Beattie. How are you doing?
Oh, good, man. Nice to be on. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you for coming on. So, for people who don't know who you are or what you do, could you give them a rundown of exactly what that is?
I am the singer of the band EB and the Deadlights. We're a new sort of, suppose, shock rock is the term for it band. Sort of do the whole makeup thing, like Alice Cooper, Rob Zombie, all them guys. So, and that's pretty much it.
Sounds good. So what exactly drove you to kickstart your career in the first place? Like before EB and the Deadlights, like what was the first initial idea?
Well, I've always been into the kind of the music with the image. My mom showed me, I think when I was like 4 or 5, my mom showed me Alice Cooper's scene in Wayne's World, and that was just kind of like a lightning bulb moment. So I've been trying to make that my life ever since. So then after Alice Cooper, there was like Zombie, uh, controversial one to say at the minute, but Manson, um, all the sort of like Murder Dolls and Wednesday 13, all the kind of the big shock rock guys. So yeah, just from there on out, just kind of I knew as soon as I got into bands, I wanted to have one that was along these lines, and I just kind of eventually found the right people, and here we are.
And what age do you reckon that was that you first became sort of a metal lover?
Oh Jesus, early like metal. I'm see, I'm not a massive metal guy. I'm more into my rock, honestly.
Okay.
I like a lot of metal, but I think I didn't really get into really heavy stuff until I was maybe 12. And
Mhm.
up until that, it was just all kind of rock, classic rock, like Alice Cooper. Um, I suppose if you're going to be really picky, Manson and Zombie are kind of industrial metal, if
Mhm.
you're going to give them the correct term.
Yeah.
But yeah, so probably about, as far as metal goes, probably about 12, we'll say.
Okay, yeah. So what exactly drove you then to start EB and the Deadlights?
I had another band that was very heavy. And as I say, I'm kind of not to pat myself on the back or anything, but I'm quite good at the sort of harsh screaming vocals, and
Okay.
it kind of sort of pulled me into being in a deathcore band, and we done an EP, and I'm very proud of it, but it's never exactly what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
Um, so I started doing solo stuff just because I thought that was the easiest way to kind of do what I wanted. Um,
Mhm.
so I kind of went from there. I put out uh, I put out one EP, and it's horrendous. I hope I never have to listen to it again. And then I done 2 songs where I played drums, rhythm guitar, and I sang on. And then the guy I done those with was one was the bass player, or one played bass in those 2 songs, and he was the bass guitar player of my last band. And then the other guy was the guy who I started the Deadlights with. And because I kind of always thought if I ever got a gig in, I would have just thought of be comedian with Deadlights. But then as it kind of got to be in a band, I just kind of thought the initials sounded better because Deadlights is a bit generic on its own, in my opinion. But yeah, then obviously I sort of knew as soon as that was the case, it was going to be full on makeup, and it's seems to be going well.
Going 100% or 0%, as they say.
Yeah.
So, is there any particular aspect about this genre that gives you the passion for it?
I've always liked music that has an image.
Okay.
So you look at you go see Alice Cooper, you go see Ghost, you go see Manson, anyone. You're getting a show. And
Hmm.
that it isn't just people. I think more recently, like one of my favorite bands is Creeper. If you've ever heard of them, they're like a sort of, it's kind of a crime calling them punk now because they've done so much more. They're kind of like, they go from punk to like kind of David Bowie style stuff, but they're like just so good and like reinvent themselves after every release, and they just, it's such a theme, and it's just so much more than people just playing songs, you know.
Mhm.
And I kind of always thought that that would be a cool thing to have, and not, you know, it's all, yeah, the songs need to be really good, and the songs need to back up the reason that you're doing the performance. But I've always wanted to just be like a show, you know, not just, okay, right, well, here's this song I wrote when I was drunk one night, or here's the song about whoever broke my heart. You know,
Yeah.
it's okay, right, well, that's it, but elaborate on it, and, you know, tell a story. And it, like, I'm a big Stephen King fan. I always think the best sort of parts of Stephen King books is you can tell he's fabricating it to make the story interesting, but he's writing about himself at the same time. So
Yeah.
it's kind of the bridge between fact and fiction. So I'm always very into that. And plus, it's always more fun. You know, you go see Kiss, you go see Alice Cooper, whoever. Like, you're always getting a show with it. You know, it's
Mhm.
not just like, it's very planned and it's very to the point. So I've liked the kind of preparation behind it.
Okay.
So,
So
yeah.
you mentioned there about Stephen King, and obviously Stephen, who was our guest right at the beginning of the show, said that you're a big lover of sort of horror movies and horror genre, in a sense with books, etc.
Yep.
Does that drive to like translate ever over into your songs, or is it just sort of
Oh,
something that you enjoy?
without a doubt, I sometimes fear if I ever come across Stephen King's radar, he reads my lyrics and just decides to take a lawsuit out against me. That's, yeah, so Still See Ghosts is, well, technically it's something Stephen King stole. It's like a poem that, it's in Salem's Lot, but it's more sort of plays a bigger factor in it. It's he thrusts his fists against the posts and still insists he sees the ghost. So that was a big one. I think Empty Frames are getting full again. That's at a Pet Cemetery. There's probably more in there somewhere, but yeah, it's kind of, I don't look at it as stealing because it's going to a different form of art. I feel like if I sat and listened to a Prince song and then just took a lyric from that Prince song, it's just being a scumbag. But pick a book because you're kind of, you know, it's a line that might go completely over somebody else's head, but if it really speaks to you and you can fit it in, you know, it's kind of, so there's definitely a lot that I like. I think yeah, it definitely translates, you know. I'm trying to think of certain ones that have really sort of stuck out to me, but I feel like I put them all in the last EP.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's definitely it definitely drives it. I've always liked dark art, so whether it's reading or whether it's, you know, a movie, I'm sitting here and I've got the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre on in the background, so, you know, it's all intertwined.
Mhm. Now, you briefly mentioned there about Empty Frames, which currently on Spotify is your most popular song as of right now. What
Yeah.
exactly is the meaning behind that song?
Oh, Jesus. This is where I sound like a serial killer. So 50 Frames is the most non-factual song in that entire EP. Like, that is the full blown fiction. Um, it's kind of, I was, so basically we had wrote the entire EP. We had wrote the other four songs, and Empty Frames was just kind of kicking about, and we kind of had it, and it wasn't fitting too well, and then we got it to the demo stage, and it started to click a bit better. Obviously, we got it out of the studio, and it ended up being the lead single of the entire thing. So that turned out quite well, I think, because we were really considering shelving it. So I'm quite happy we didn't do that. But
Mhm.
basically, I was watching Wolf Creek, if you've
Yeah.
ever seen that movie, and that guy's a nutcase. So I kind of thought, what would happen if he like seen this like girl or woman, whoever he really liked, and he wanted to ask her on a date? Like, I doubt he would, you know, he wouldn't shyly walk up and ask. He would probably just go up and kill whoever she was with, and then just put her in the band, take her back to his weird wee dungeon thing he had. So it's weird stuff like that kind of gets the ball rolling.
Okay.
And I was writing it, and I kind of was like, oh, I don't know. Everybody's a bit sensitive now, but then I was looking at other lyrics and was like, well, they don't call it shock rock for no reason, so we'll stick with it. And I don't know. It's one of the ones that people tend to sing back to me, even if we're not headlining. So it must do well.
Yeah. And obviously, the beginning of the song, the intro, is very different to where the song leads to. What was sort of the idea behind that?
I actually don't know. It was our guitar player had that. See, when we do it live, we don't actually play that unless we're headlining.
Okay.
So we have a gig tomorrow opening for Priest, who used to be in Ghost.
Mhm.
We're the first three songs are Nightmare Reality, Heathen of the Mind, and Empty Frames. So, but there's no breaks, like straight out of one into the other. So whenever the bass comes in, and it's that sort of like wee part before the song fully kicks in, that's kind of where we play Frames from. But I think that I don't know, it was kind of something that it just felt quite haunting. So it was a nice kind of breakup for pace, because the EP, if you listen to the EP, everything, the songs kind of all start right away up until Empty Frames, and then the pace changes, and obviously it picks back up, but it just sort of felt like it was a nice, it saved it from just going song, 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 song. It kind of chilled it for a couple of seconds,
Okay.
let you get a water, regather yourself, and then,
Prepare.
get ready for mayhem.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you mentioned there you have a show tomorrow, as of recording, would be the 5th of April. This comes out around the end of the month. So, have you any other plans for May gig wise that you're
um
preparing for?
Yeah, we're headlining in the Deer's Head, and we have Harley and the Wolf and Turan opening for us. And after that, we have, I think this should be announced by then, so I don't think there's any harm in saying it. We're headlining the Speakeasy with,
Okay.
that's the 10th of June. That one's New Normal, Color Arcadia, I think, is the other band, and Somehow Sentient, who are very good friends. So that'll be a fun one. It'll be a weird one because I think all the other bands are kind of alternative punk bands, and we're just the goth boys. But no, so the first, and this will be like the first proper headline where we're doing like mostly original stuff as well, because obviously the last one we only had 5 songs, so we we had to improvise and throw a few covers in just to kind of get to the R set. But this one, the shows are definitely going a lot more. We're going to start playing to a click and everything, because we want it all to be kind of theatrical, and we feel like if we can have tracks and all
Mhm.
that. But yeah,
Uh,
12th of May, my head's away. It's the 5th of May.
and
There's a
that's a
lot to happen
speakeasy on
then.
the Lisburn Road, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. The one on the 5th, the 5th of May, is in the Deer's Head. So by the time this is out, that'll be fastly approaching. So
Hmm.
you can get your tickets. You can get your tickets now from Eventbrite. And then
Perfect. Yeah.
with some other ones coming up, I think that the biggest one for us, we're opening for Doyle, who used to be in Misfit, or not used to be, still is in Misfits. And that's in August, so that'll be a fun one. And
Mhm.
then we've one that we're trying to get, which will be a big one for me, but it's not confirmed yet. I don't want to jinx it. So but it's the day after Doyle, so it'll be a fun
Okay.
one.
And what do you think your next step is then with this group? Like, where do you think you could push to get that next level above?
Well, I think definitely playing to a click, and having, I don't like, I know some bands kind of think that you're not rock and roll if you're doing that, but in my opinion, it'll tighten everything up. And for what we're wanting to do, I don't think we'll be able to put on the type of show we want to put on unless we have tracks running, and we have, like, interludes and stuff, which we need to have in ears. We need to play the clicks just so we know what we're doing,
Mhm.
and we can actually be in time with them. But let's keep evolving. The new EP is more or less done, and I think it's a step up from, well, not I feel like I'm sort of crapping on Ghost saying that, but It's definitely different. But it keeps what people seem to like about Still See Ghosts, but adds more variety. So I think just it's the cliche artist thing to say, but just keep evolving. If we're not very close minded on we have to sound like a certain thing. If a song comes through and it isn't bad, like it's a contender to make whatever release. So because our next song, like we have a single coming out hopefully within the next few months. It's very metal, and then after that, it's not really metal at all. It's just back to like hard rock, and even there's some Bowie-esque stuff in there as well. So it's exciting times ahead. Just keep growing and evolving. I feel like if we start going the other way, it'll be bad crack.
Yeah. And when do you think that EP will be released then?
As I say, we got the single which we're hoping to have out in June, hopefully. So if you come to the Deer's Head gig, actually, you'll get to hear that and a few songs off of the new EP. But we're hoping for June. I think we have that Speakeasy gig. We're kind of hoping that it'll be out around then. But the EP itself, probably not until we haven't recorded it yet. We have it roughly demoed. We're hoping to get it properly demoed within the next few weeks. And then we should hopefully be in the studio early June, all being well. And then release will be probably September, October, maybe. October would be nice because it would just be in time for Halloween.
Perfect timing for the genre.
Yeah.
Well, I think that covers all my questions for today. Is there anything you want to promote before we wrap this up?
I don't think so, man. Obviously, I'll not be out tomorrow, but if you're not busy tomorrow night, land down the voodoo.
Yeah.
I think gathering from Stevie, you were on stage at 7:45. Yeah. Deer's Head headline with Hardy and the Wolf and Turan on the 5th of May, and then the Speakeasy with New Normal, Color Arcadia, and Somehow Sentient the 10th of June. And I hope that gig's been announced by the time this comes out.
Yeah. Well, perfect. So thank you for coming on.
Well, of course, man. Anytime. Not a problem. It's been nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you too. And thank you all for listening. And we'll see you next week.